Welcome to I Love My HBCU ? The podcast where we express our undeniable love for HBCUs, but where we are also not afraid to address a few tough questions. So, sit back, learn a little, love a lot, and rep your HBCU. Hello, everyone. It's another episode and another reason to love your HBCU. And I'm here with, can I say soon to be Dr. McGinley?
Yeah, you can say, yep.
Okay.
Or you can call me Chris. Either way is fine.
Chris McGinley, Howard University medical student. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I can't complain. We've already had a lovely conversation about football. Let me actually put you on the spot just for kicks and giggles.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
So I asked Chris offline what his favorite colors were, and he gave me, vibrant colors of red and green. And so then we started talking about football. And he is from Pennsylvania, but your favorite team is
The San Francisco 49ers. I will say, as a quick disclaimer, I support all Philly teams, for better or for worse. It's just the 49ers they'll always have a special place in my heart. And so I have to say go Niners for this weekend, and hopefully we beat the Eagles.
So, Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, God is good. So
I don't have high hopes.
You don't have high hopes? Okay, so I don't know exactly when the world is going to hear this episode. But who do you think, meaning I don't know, I'm hoping it comes out before the Super Bowl. I hope by the time the world hears this, the Super Bowl has not happened yet. Who do you think is going to be in the Super Bowl this year?
Truthfully, I think, so I'm a pretty realistic fan coming from Philadelphia. I'd say realistically, I believe if the Eagles got their offense together, they could definitely easily make the Super Bowl. If not them, unfortunately the Seahawks. I'd hate to see them in Levi's Stadium for the Super Bowl. And I believe coming from the AFC, it's either Buffalo or maybe the Patriots. I'm not too sure. I feel like it's pretty wide open.
So I'm in the wide open space right now. I'm a recovering football fanatic.
Oh.
Yes, it used to be bad. It used to be bad. I'm the person that my parents walk out of the room when I'm watching football. If I'm rooting for a player, it's intense. I'm not that person anymore. I'm like I said, I'm not even just recovered.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with being that type of person. I'll say that.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, no, I was bad. I was, and you know how stereotypically, I don't think it's the same anymore. Stereotypically, people used to think that women were not into football as much until they realize that there's some women that really, really like football. I love sports. Mine is not football. I love sports. I'd watch almost any sport but baseball and hockey. Those are the two that are a no-no for me. And
That's valid.
I've tried, and not hockey, but baseball, even in person, is like watching paint dry. It's just not for me.
Yeah, I can understand. I'm a big baseball fan. I love watching college and the pros. Go Phillies, but I can understand that take. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a common take. But I didn't get to ask, who's your NFL team or who's your favorite player?
So, oh gosh, I'm gonna get dogged for this. I don't care though. So I support player first and then team second. And then, but it's weird. So when Tosin has decided that she's watching football for the season, I pick a team. And it's no longer about the player. But once the team is out, then I just switch to what player am I supporting. So
See?
I'm a local. Baltimore is where I live. So, yes, I was all in for the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson is actually still one of my favorite players, even though the Ravens are out. So, I really don't know who to root for right now, to be extremely honest with you.
The
Um,
49ers.
eh, uh, haven't decided yet. Haven't decided yet. I disagree with them firing their coach, their head coach, John Harbaugh. I personally disagree. But
Mm,
we're here, and I look forward to what they're going to do next season. In
yeah.
the past, so you may not like me for this. Oh Lord, yeah, Tristan, say it. So, right now, I'm kind of rooting for Aaron Rodgers.
Oh wow, that is a hot take, for sure.
Right. So
Interesting.
right now I'm rooting, and that's why I took a deep breath before saying it. But I've got to stay true to me.
Yeah.
Right now, it's not necessarily the team. I'm rooting for Aaron Rodgers. I watched his documentary on Netflix,
Mm,
and just got to see the person outside of football, right?
mm,
And in seeing the person outside of football, I have a lot of empathy for him. I really
mm,
do. And for that reason and several other reasons, I'd love to see him get another ring right now in this stage of life. That's it.
mm.
That's it.
It's valid. I'll have to see that. I didn't even know that he had a documentary. I'll have to look in that.
It's a docu-series, I believe. Do not quote me on this, but I believe it's called Enigma. I think
Okay.
so, but do not quote me on the title. But if you look up Aaron Rodgers on Netflix, it's going to come up. And I personally think it's worth watching. I
Mhm.
think that we as humans tend to box people in. We'll call them celebrities for lack of a better word, but we box them in and we don't allow them to truly be their full selves in our relationship with them. And so I think it's really unfair how we go after them with the one, two, three little things that we know about them. So I appreciated the docu series showing us this fuller version of him. So yeah.
Mm,
But we did
mhm.
not get on this call to talk about football.
Yep.
We
Yep.
got on this call.
Yeah, that could be a really long call in
It
that
really
case.
could. um, we got on this call, of course, to talk about you and to talk about your journey as a now HBCU student, but did not necessarily start that way. But before we do that, if you
Mhm.
not if you don't mind, I always treat everyone to our rapid fire segment. So before we do that, are
Mhm.
you ready for the rapid fire segment?
I believe I am. I hope so.
And I haven't tested anybody in a while. And I'm gonna test you. We do the rapid fire in 67 seconds, not 60 seconds, not 90 seconds, 67 seconds.
Okay.
Why do you think we do it in 67 seconds?
Is that because of the new trend of the 6-7, or am I thinking? I hope that's not the case.
It's not the case. Thank you,
Okay, good.
Jesus.
67. So, oh,
Think. Let me help you. Think Howard. Think
I would
Howard.
say, I would say 1867.
That's it. That is
Okay,
it. It is.
I had a feeling, but I was like, let me just be careful.
So it's 1867, and I like to remind all of us that 1867 is the year that the most HBCUs in the country were founded in that year. And
Mm,
luckily, Howard University, not luckily, but coincidentally is more accurate, Howard University was one of those. So yes, it is an homage to the year
mhm.
that the most HBCUs were founded. Okay, so are you ready?
Yes, I
Let's
believe
do
so.
this. Let's do this. Ooh, yours is going to be a little tricky. I love it.
Oh,
I love it. I love it. Describe yourself in 3 words.
uh, I'd say energetic, funny, and I guess determined.
Energetic, funny, determined. I love it. Um, ooh, if you were the commencement speaker at your upcoming medical school graduation, what would be the title of your commencement speech?
Uh, Ooh, man.
It's
I'd
like
say
when
probably Silver Linings.
silver linings. I want to hear more about that. Silver linings. I love it. What's
Mhm.
your unpopular opinion about HBCUs?
Um, Unpopular opinion. Ah, I don't really have. I don't know. Um, I don't know. I don't really have, I guess, a true hot take or an unpopular opinion. I haven't thought too deep into that.
So how about this? If not unpopular, what's your favorite thing about HBCUs?
Favorite thing, I'd say, is the camaraderie for sure. That feeling of connection with everybody.
Shout out your favorite person at Howard University right now.
Favorite person?
And what do they do? Who's your favorite person at Howard right now? What do they do?
Oh man, I know I'm gonna. If some of my Howard buddies hear this, they might feel a certain way. But I'd have to say it's my PI or my principal investigator who I'm in his lab, Dr. Byron Ford. He's just taught me so much as a mentor, both as a student and as an intellectual. And there's just a lot of things that I'm really grateful for.
I love it. Okay. I was just told that my time's up or our time's up. Thank you so much for that. But I'm going to squeeze in one more question.
Okay.
You did not go to an HBCU for undergrad. I know that. The audience is about to know that in a hot second, because I'm going to ask you about your selection journey in a second. If you were to do it over again,
Mhm.
give me your top three HBCUs that you would have considered for undergrad.
Top three? I would probably say Howard, having been there. Um, maybe Morehouse,
Okay, okay.
and the third one, maybe as a Pennsylvanian, I'd say maybe Cheney.
Cheney, okay. Speaking of, again, you are from Pennsylvania. You've got Lincoln University of Pennsylvania, you've got Cheney University. I'm not saying every single person of the African diaspora has to be attending an HBCU. I just kind of love it. But you did not select an HBCU for undergrad. You selected a non-HBCU. Give me your college selection journey, regardless of where you landed, and then why Howard now?
Yeah, absolutely. So in undergrad, I was really big into pharmacy. I really wanted to become a pharmacist, and so I was originally going to go to the name's changed, but it's like used to be Thomas Jefferson or
Okay.
Philadelphia College of Pharmacy. I had full intentions of going there. And then I started to work as a farm tech, and I was like, no, I want to be more involved with the patient care. And so I ended up going to a community college called Montgomery County Community College. And the funny thing is, this is really strange. I went to that community college, and where I live now, there's actually a Montgomery Community College right up the road. So I thought that was really strange.
Wow, wow.
But I went to community college, really just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I sort of just decided right then and there that I really wanted to go to become a physician. Just from my experience with being a farm tech and just wanting to be more involved with the patient care. So went to Montgomery County Community College. And the reason I went to Westchester is because when I transferred out my credits, all my credits would transfer to Westchester. They had a linkage agreement with Westchester. And it was between them and Temple University. Really loved Temple University, but Westchester was closer and they took all my credits. So it's ultimately why I chose Westchester University.
I love it. Why Howard University now? When you decided, okay, I'm going to go to medical school, how did you decide on Howard University Medical School?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say diversity played a big part of it. And that was something I hadn't really experienced growing up. Growing up, I was always the minority. I was usually one of the darkest people that someone knew in the classroom. And so I hadn't been exposed to such diversity. And so, you know, I had applied to many different schools. I really tried to stay local. And Howard University was something that really just stood out to me. And from my experience with the pandemic, I was a farm tech for I'd say 7 years. I think 6 of those I spent at CVS. And so at CVS, One thing that a lot of people don't know about is during the COVID pandemic, minorities were disproportionately affected, and there's a lot of mistrust in the medical field, especially now. But even back then, a lot of African Americans were very hesitant on getting the COVID vaccine, despite them being one of the most affected. And so, every time I had the opportunity, I always had a great connection with a lot of my customers. I still try and keep in contact with some of them. Every time I had the opportunity, I would try and encourage them, like, maybe you should consider trying this either way. And, it's always up to somebody else to decide, but I always wanted to sort of dissuade that and sort of bridge the gap, especially for African Americans and minorities. But that really inspired me to sort of pursue a different perspective of what I was used to from undergrad and growing up in grad school and grade school, sorry. And so I really wanted to pursue Howard.
I love it. And for those who are medical practitioners, you're going to hear me really, really silent, and you're going to hear Chris speak a whole lot more. And I'll tell you why I'm about to say that. I read your bio, and I'm not being silly when I say Father, Lord in heaven. As I was reading what you plan on studying,
Mm.
it was slightly overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
And overwhelming in that manner of, I'm grateful that there's some people in the world who pick these very specifically comprehensive things, and that's what they want to study. The closest relation I can make to what I read in the bio is, you want to understand the history, the nature of strokes, and of course the recovery thereafter. Is that an accurate, talk to me like I'm a 4-year old breakdown of what that is?
Yeah. Yeah, of
Okay.
course. So yeah, it is definitely stroke, specifically ischemic stroke. So there's two big types. There's a hemorrhagic stroke, and without getting too much into the details, there's hemorrhagic stroke and ischemic stroke. Ischemic stroke happens much more common. It's like about 85% of the time, and unfortunately, the therapy between each one is a little different. For ischemic strokes, what happens is there's a vessel that gets blocked, and essentially it's depriving, especially the brain, from essential nutrients like oxygen and ATP or energy. And the brain's very sensitive to these changes, and so unfortunately causes a lot of brain damage. And most of the time, people suffer very debilitating neurological dysfunction, and most of the time it's a different degree for each person, but some people might be affected much more than others. And I had family members that had, ischemic strokes, and so it was always something that was interesting to me.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, what were you going to say?
I was going to ask you, so I'm not going to say the word you said because I'll get it wrong, but I associate it with hemorrhaging, and I associate hemorrhaging with losing blood, which is different from ischemic strokes. And I
Yep.
don't want you to give us a lesson, because I bet
Yeah.
you there's going to be more people like me who are like, what? I don't, yeah. Uh,
Don't
but
worry.
I do want you to tell me the difference between the two.
Yeah. So an ischemic stroke, essentially, ischemia just means like a lack of oxygen, or
Oxygen.
essentially there's something that's blocking a major vessel. It could be a blood clot. Like, let's say you have a blood clot somewhere and it breaks off and it goes up to that vessel and it gets trapped in that vessel, unfortunately, because as vessels get further away from the heart, they get smaller. And so if you have a clot that's a defined space, or a defined volume, it can get trapped in a vessel at a certain point. And so it essentially blocks the vessel, stops blood from getting to this essential part of the brain. A hemorrhagic stroke, it's just exactly like you said, where you're sort of losing blood, and it's due to a vessel rupturing. And usually it can be due to something like high blood pressure. Some people can have aneurysms, where essentially the vessel has a weakening in the wall and it just balloons. It just creates this little balloon. and over time it can rupture. They don't necessarily all rupture, but they definitely can rupture. And
Can
so blood starts to hemorrhage out. And
can strokes be prevented?
honestly, I don't want to. It's complex. It's very complex. So there's no right answer for that, and I don't want to say yes or no and be totally wrong. It it depends on lifestyle. It depends on a whole bunch of different things. But to say truthfully, can it be prevented? I don't believe so.
You don't believe so? Okay. I quickly asked that question when you mentioned high blood pressure in association with one of the types of strokes, and I learn, as I think most of us do, that there are some things that we can do to prevent ourselves from getting high blood pressure. So that's what led
Right?
to me asking, can strokes be prevented? This is
Yeah.
very, very rudimentary. My association with strokes, unfortunately, has always been whenever I see somebody with it's left side of their body is what I'm going to assume, but I'm learning it could be either side of their body. Can you
Yep.
make that connection for me? What occurs when someone has a stroke that then one side of their body becomes paralyzed?
Yeah. So essentially, to sort of break it down,
I'm
depending
literally
on
making you give us like a what's it called, a stroke a 101 class session. My apologies, but I got
no,
interested the minute I realized, wait, hold on, this is so specific of a field that you're going into. Sorry, go ahead.
no worries. Yeah, yeah. So it depends on the type of stroke that you have, but basically to put it, so your brain has both, it can sense sensation and it also tells the rest of the body to do things. And it's in very defined regions. And so if you have a stroke, whether it be hemorrhagic or ischemic, let's say for ischemic, for example, in that area that's supposed to be receiving all these nutrients to keep telling the body to function, if it's not getting what's it's supposed to, then all of a sudden it essentially those neurons or those important cells that are telling the rest of the body to function, they might die off, and essentially you're losing that function. So that's where you get things like slurred speech. You might have like they call it like weakness, numbness. But essentially, what's happening is those neurons that are supposed to be telling the body to move, they're dying, unfortunately. In the case of hemorrhagics, if you think about the skull as a defined space, it can only hold so much, right? It only holds CSF, which is it's a fluid that basically cushions the brain and the important tissue in the central nervous system. You have brain, and then you have blood. You can have other stuff, but that's also not good. But essentially, if you think about it, if it's a defined space, if it presses on the brain at all or anything like that, it can compress a certain area and cause dysfunction as well. That's sort of the really watered down version
No, I
of it.
get it. It's almost as if I'm not communicating the function of what this should do. And okay, got it, got it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Before, listen,
Without getting too nitty gritty.
if this were just you and I wasn't doing this for an entire audience to hear, I would literally keep drilling you on all of this because
Oh
I
yeah.
am I am particularly I hope I'm not the only human being out here that's like this. I'm always intrigued by what I don't know. And especially when what I don't know is, in my viewpoint, extremely comprehensive. And anything that has to do with our bodies in the healthcare field is extremely comprehensive to me, let alone brain work, because that's what I call what you're doing is brain work. But I want to pivot ever so slightly, not too far away though, but ever so slightly into the larger field of healthcare because you've got to care about healthcare to go into what you're going into, and I'm grateful for people like you. What's your viewpoint, your take on the, I don't want to call it the ratio, but the consistent statistic that's out there with regards to the lack of proper healthcare that minorities experience? And I'm going to drill down even further. Minority women, more so than just minorities. I just want your take on it as somebody who is going to be a practicing surgeon, practicing physician one day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, moving to I'm in technically Maryland, but I could cough and I could hit DC because I'm just that close. But during my commute into Howard, unfortunately, you see a lot of disparity everywhere, and it's a lot of especially African American individuals with a lot of serious psychiatric issues. Um, and unfortunately they're not being tended to, and it hurts to see because you just see people, there's still people at the end of the day regardless, and you see a lot of one particular ethnicity that are affected by it. And that's one thing that I'm very, very appreciative of Howard, is that they take and help everybody, and it's something that I've really grown to love and appreciate, and something I hope to carry as a physician going forward. In terms of, oh, sorry.
No, 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 please go ahead.
In terms of the disparity, yeah, that's something that Howard loves to teach about. There's a lot of things that I didn't know about, that I'm aware of now. And whenever I have any patient interactions or any patient encounters, it's something that is always in the forefront of my mind of how are you doing? If you're a caretaker, how's the caretaker doing as well? And it's really taught me to really empathize with a lot of patients on a deeper level. And that's something I'm really appreciative of for Howard. I don't know if that answered your question.
No, no, you did. You did. I asked for your perspective on the reality. I don't. I think unless you are not. Mm, I was about to say unless you are not black, it's impossible for you not to see that there's a disparity. But
Yeah.
I would even further say that even being, if you were non-black, how do you not see that there is disparity? Um, Without us going through a whole deeply racial conversation, because that's not necessarily where I want this to go. But without us going down that road, I am curious, what could change any of it?
Um, I don't think that there's really one direct answer. I think a lot of community engagement will help, especially in today. Unfortunately, there's just the gap between the general population and healthcare. I think is probably as large as it's ever going to get, if not more. But there's a lot of mistrust currently in the medical field, and I think the people that are most affected are most likely minorities.
Yeah,
This is just from what this is personally this is just my opinion.
absolutely.
But I believe that they're the most impacted, and I think trying to do a lot of community engagement to help a lot of people understand and improve their health literacy, especially to know what's out there and what's available for them, I think that will help more than anything. Because I think a lot of patients, unfortunately, don't really know everything that's out there. When I've been in clinic a lot, there's a lot of patients that aren't familiar with a lot of the therapies that might help them, or even preventative therapies. And unfortunately, one thing that you see at Howard is, and it's very sad to see, is a lot of patients present very late into their disease course. I've shadowed a lot, especially in the neurosurgery clinic, and unfortunately, a lot of patients will come in with large tumors, and it's basically to the point of where there's very little that you can do. So I think doing a lot of community engagement and teaching a lot of people to look for certain signs if they're feeling a certain way, to really get checked out.
I don't know if you noticed I smiled at one portion of your response, and it's because you use the word preventative, and I'm really really big. I do. Those who know that I come from a family who are medical practitioners, and that's been drilled in my head is, and I think it's a no-brainer that prevention is better than you needing the cure.
Yeah.
Can you and I talk about our culture? And by culture, I am making it broadly American, not black culture, not white cultures, not Asian cultures. No, no. The American culture as a whole, however one wants to define that. Or let's just say society instead of culture. Do you think, not do you think, what is your take on, I'm going to call it the setup of societal needs to depend on a cure in healthcare as opposed to focusing on preventative measures? What's your take generally on that if you have one? If you don't have one, that's fine. And when I'm asking this question, I am thinking about the foods that we eat. When I'm asking this question, I am thinking about the environments that we find ourselves in. When I am asking this question, I am thinking about the fact that I see some, God bless them, some college students currently protesting different elected officials about not having data farms in their communities because they know it's going to use up more water, it's going to use up more this and use up more that, which you may not think about it when you are typing in a search for chat gpt to give you a response, but then there is this correlating effect that none of us are thinking about right now. How, what's your take on all of that? And as a, if which I believe is true, health is wealth, literally, as a healthcare practitioner or one that is becoming one, because I think it's unfair to ask you to solve the problem, so I'm just going to ask for your
Uh,
take.
no
What's your
worries.
take on how we as a society, but especially those who have been put in power to set the policies as well as to set the budgets on what we focus on and what we don't focus on. What's your take on how we are responding to all of this?
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, that needs a deep breath.
yeah. Yeah. I could go on all day about it. I think currently we're at a very critical point of where there is just so much information. There's a lot of misinformation, unfortunately, as well about certain things where people might hear one thing and think that it might be this dangerous toxin, but it's really not. And so,
Hmm. Hmm.
like for example, sodium and chloride. If you take those two elements separately, they're very dangerous to your body. But then you put them together and it's salt. And so I think people finding the right. I think that we should really centralize where we're getting information from,
Yeah.
and then also really keep it to the science because science is
Mm.
very rigorous. It's not something where it's like based on feeling. It's really based on fact, and you can't really lie with numbers. And so I really think there's a lot that I could say, but I think just trying to keep it there and trying to keep it at the science level. There's so much rigor that goes into anything that you see. It's peer reviewed. It goes through levels and levels
Yeah.
and levels of experiments, and just trying to get to a finite answer at some point.
I wow. Ah,
I
we
hope
have
I
been.
hope I didn't
No,
answer that
no.
question, but it's
You answered the question, but something tells me that once we get off, once we end this conversation, if I were to ask you that again, I'll get the real answer that you want to get.
yeah, you get the raw deal, raw deal answer.
That's what
Yeah,
something tells me. I wish you'd give it to me now, but I also understand if you choose not
yeah.
to. But as you were talking, so if anybody has watched Dave Chappelle's latest I don't know what to call it, special, there we go, latest special on Netflix, he says something similar. And I have a running joke with a few of my colleagues when yet another thing is thrown at us from the current administration that we're in. And I have a thing where I say I'm biding time, because the way my body is set up, I literally cannot allow myself to react to each and every single thing.
Yeah.
And you use the word misinformation. There's so much information out there, but you use the word misinformation. And like you, oh, Father Lord in heaven, I wish we had a centralized space where we're
Yeah.
getting our, maybe not all information is going to be 100%, but closer to, I can take this to the bank. I don't
Yeah.
think we can take anything to the bank right now. I think
Yeah.
I think you
Yeah.
got to be careful right now. But that's where my brain went to when you said that. I was like, oh wow, he's. There's a lot of us who feel the same way, that the information might just be the problem, more
Yeah.
so than all these other things that we're grabbing onto. um it's, yeah, I don't, my brain now is warning me, don't go there, Tosin, don't go there, Tosin.
I
um
mean, yeah. If you think about it, like right now, the thing is I think a lot of people have realized that you can say something completely wrong, and the effort to fact check that and to prove that it's wrong takes substantially more than to just make an opinion and state something.
Absolutely.
And that's why there's a lot of great information, but there's also a lot of bad information,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And so I think a lot of transparency with things, about, you know, how I think a lot of transparency, transparency helps a lot. And then, really a centralized location for certain things. I
So
think those can help.
before I ask you about your soon to be commencement speech called Silver Linings, um so we at I Love My HBCU question mark, we're a social impact entity. That's what we do. And then we are lucky to talk to human beings like you who give us so many different perspectives.
Be kind.
I always like to take something positive from these types of conversations. These types of conversations, if you ask me, could easily devolve to making one feel hopeless. Because when I look at the information that's out there, like you said, Lord have mercy, it is a Herculean task trying to correct the misinformation. And so you go with what's thrown at you, and artificial intelligence, language learning models, they have not made, large language learning models, sorry, have not made things easier. They've in fact made them worse. I know, what's her name? Faith Jenkins. Is that her first name? I hope her name is Faith. I hope the first name is Faith. But Judge Jenkins on television, she is a legitimate judge and legal practitioner. She's married to, is it Kenny Lattimore? I hope I'm getting this right. But they're taking people to court soon based on the misinformation about them. And what I love about what I read in their story is, I know you think it's us. It's not because of us. They had the money to go after finding out where is the source of the misinformation. And then when they did it, they realized, oh, wow, it seems like it benefits people financially to just
Yeah.
throw all the false information out there, because the way the quote unquote algorithms work is the frequency and the consistency of whatever the information is, that's the one they're going to keep pushing out, as opposed to finding the accurate stuff. Thanks, Chris. Chris with a K said, yes, it is Faith Jenkins. So my memory is working right for
Nice.
me. Um, why do I share all of this? What can we do, Chris? What do you think in what can Tosin do? What can Chris do? What can we do in our own little worlds to protect us from this?
I probably say one is to just sort of step back sometimes and to think, to really not get too caught up into it and to waste as much energy on it. Because, I mean, the amount of information that's bad information is going to be generated no matter what, and really an exponential pace compared to what good
Yeah.
information is. But I think for the general population, one thing that I've I've really found is helpful is to look up from both sides, but then really have an open mind about things and to seek open discourse about something if you feel about it a certain way about it, or look up more than just one particular source of information to verify something. Probably be, I think, but just I think just letting go and just not really involving myself too much into it has saved me a lot of stress. And I continue to do that. But if people are seeking the information, then by all means you provide it as best you can. But people at the end of the day they're going to form their own opinions, and they're going to go to the extent that they will take to find out information. And so you can only do so much.
I appreciate that. I'm going to try to do that, Chris. What I've currently done is shut off entirely. You said take a step back. I do not know when last I have paid attention to the news.
Yeah,
And mind you, it still finds its way to me.
yeah, yeah.
That's the part that's I am one of the most well-versed human beings when it comes to what's going on currently. You'll think I'm paying attention to the news. I am not. I am not. I don't watch any of the news channels anymore, not a single one. And I say that proudly because it just became too much. It really did. And
Yeah.
I said that out loud not too long ago. And one of my former students literally said, you know what? I did the same. So I know I'm not the only one. It became too much, but I do like your approach. Don't be Tosin. Don't shut off
No, still be
entirely.
Tosin. Still be you.
Don't be Tosin. Don't shut off entirely. And I like I said, I like your idea of taking a step back. So I'm
Mhm,
going to figure out what re-engaging looks like for me in a minimal
mhm,
way because
mhm,
it's too much. I don't know
mhm.
how else to say it. It's just too much for most of us. So,
Yeah.
Chris, during the rapid fire, I asked you what your commencement speech would be. I'm not going to put you on the spot right now and ask you to give it. That's so unfair. I even thought the question was unfair, to be extremely honest with you. When you said silver linings, when I hear
Mhm,
somebody say silver linings, my brain goes all over the place. Tell
mhm.
me what you mean.
Yeah. So, those, if you've attended an HBCU, you know that it has just like every institution, it has its own unique problems. And it's really about how you handle that and what you take from it. You can either sit there and sort of let it bring you down and, let it be a roadblock to your journey, or you can just find the silver linings in it and really learn from that. Because every good or bad experience, you should always be trying to learn. And if it's a bad experience, you should really try and learn from it and not make it in vain. And so there's a lot that I've learned from Howard and how to really pursue something. It has really taught me that, and that's something that I am extremely thankful for.
I'm going to share this. I love when you doubled down and said, especially when it is a bad experience, really find what you're supposed to learn from it. So I'm a Howard University alum, and I'll tell you what one of those experiences.
HU?
Listen, you know,
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you one of the experience. The minute you said that, I was like, that reminds me. So when people meet me, they learn very quickly. I keep everything, and I'm extremely organized, but it came from somewhere.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. That's right.
It came from somewhere. Guys, this is where it came from. For those who are like, oh, really, Dr. Tosin, you still have that? Yes. I will never forget there was a fee I was supposed to pay at Howard University. I paid it, I kept the receipt, but I was still being billed for it for at least the next 3 semesters.
Yeah.
And I was like, listen, guys, I paid this. I kept getting, no, you didn't, no, you didn't, no, you didn't. They had not one single record, not one single record. How, I didn't pay cash, guys. How do you not? So
Yeah.
I went home
Yep.
and at the time I wasn't this uber organized person, but I went
Mhm,
home and I said, Tosin, I think you kept it. I think you kept it. This was
mhm.
3 semesters in. When I tell you that after I went through all of my papers and I saw this receipt and I was
Yep.
able to go to the A building and slam it down on that desk and say, listen, I paid for it. After that day, if I pay for something monumental somewhere, you
Mhm.
bet your bottom dollar I am
Yeah.
keeping the
Yes.
receipt for it. So I
Yep.
listen, I love that silver lining. It has turned me into this extremely organized and responsible human being. So I love the
Mhm.
double down that especially when it's a bad
Yeah.
experience, learn a deeper lesson from it. I really, really like that. I really
Yeah,
like
I'd say that my favorite quote that I've ever heard was there's two types of days. There's good days and there's character builders, and that's sort of how I like to look at it. No bad days, just something that you can learn from.
I always write notes, and I'm
Mhm.
writing that down so that I don't forget it. There are good days because I've never heard that. I've only heard there are good days and there are bad days, and then people
Oh yeah.
give you reasons why you shouldn't see it as a bad day. But there are good days and there are character builder days. Do you know who the quote is from?
I have to double check. That's terrible that I don't know,
That's
but let
okay.
me
That is
let
okay.
me double check because I don't want to say the wrong answer.
There are good days and there are character building days. I love that. I love that. I'm going to share this with my students. Absolutely.
Yeah, I have to
Well,
get back to you on that one. I'm
get
so
back to
sorry.
me on it. Listen, Chris, we've had an amazing conversation. I've enjoyed it. I know I took you down the whole stroke knowledge giving journey. I made you my professor for like a good 35 minutes, and I appreciate you for indulging me. But is
Of
there
course.
anything that you're like, okay, Tosin, you know you should have asked me X that I did not ask you that you'd love to bless our audience with before we say goodbye?
Um, I'd say probably just to reiterate about really finding the silver lining in things, and to not really stick up on, to get stuck on, if something is not going your way. Because it's really transient, or it's really only going to last a short amount of time. And should always be looking how to move forward and learn from that. Because life is beautiful, and there's always good, especially if you look for it.
Absolutely. Um, can you before I've got a couple more things to say before we say goodbye. But something just came to mind for me, and I think it's important to ask persons in healthcare. My
Mhm.
brother's a surgeon. My brother
Mhm.
sees death every day, literally.
Mhm.
I I
Mhm.
I had a bad day once because a close friend passed away,
Mhm.
and as my brother consoled me, I commented how good he was at the consolation. And then he said, "Sis, I don't think you understand that I see death every single day." And that hit me hard. And
Mhm.
so I asked him the question I'm about to ask you.
Mhm.
As somebody who has got a more intimate relationship with how finite life is,
Mhm.
what's one thing you do every single day that levels up your appreciation for life?
Yes. First off, so sorry about the lost close friend, first and foremost. And what do I do? First off, admittedly, I love therapy. Therapy is a really undervalued and very underrated thing, especially when you find yourself a great therapist. It helps tremendously, and I've learned so many things as well from that. And being just saying certain things that you're very appreciative of if you're feeling down, or if you've had a long day. And for me, the biggest things for me is my family, such as like, close ones, and then my wife, and obviously my son. I'm grateful that I have this opportunity to do what I'm going to do. I love to learn, and I just sit back there and just reflect on all the things that I'm really grateful for in this life, and that I'm really appreciative of.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Now, end this episode for us. Leave our audience with one word or short phrase on why you, Chris McGinley, loves HBCUs.
Let's see. I could say it's really one phrase, and I think you know it as well. HU.
You know.
Yep.
I appreciate that. Listen, I think it is. I look forward to the day we all get to call you Dr. McGinley. There is a
You can
sense of
still call me Chris.
I'm still gonna call you Dr. McGinley. Uh,
Thank you.
I do think that it's impossible for anyone to have listened to this episode or watched this episode and not feel a sense of humanity and a sense of empathy for the kind of doctor you're going to be. I don't know why I'm losing my voice now, but for the kind of doctor you're going to be someday. And for that reason, honestly, thank you so much for being my guest today. I'm Chris. I
Cool.
hope those who've stopped by have enjoyed this episode, not because of me, but because of Chris. And if you have, please go ahead and like, please go ahead and subscribe. Yours in HBCU love. See you next episode. Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to I Love My HBCU ? Let's keep the conversation going as we share our stories and encourage more practical support of HBCUs, whilst of course holding each other accountable. Don't forget to follow and subscribe for the latest episodes. Until next time, love and lift your HBCU.